Hi, with Tacitus today at your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio, radio, no pictures live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a transgender or misgendering transgender case that occurred, and the surprisingly harsh and humiliating penalties that were handed out to the supposed transgressor. And I'll come back to that in a minute, but the whole case swung on, really, as I understand it, or this is my interpretation, the whole case swung on ideological determination of what was social power. Social power. So the transgender individual can say, well, I felt powerless. I cried, I was shaking, I'm traumatized. So I have no social power. So, the state, the government, the universe must rush to the defense of such a person and issue harsh penalties against the transgressor. Oh, did they make you cry? Well, it's naughty. We're going to really give them some deep shit. So what's actually going on here is, does the evidence matter? Do the facts matter? Does someone's lifestyle choice that puts them in a higher risk of day-to-day existence category, should that be factored in? Well, no. The person who did the strikes me as inadvertent, but anyway, did the misgendering has more social power, as in ideologically determined. They don't come across as someone who has much social power at all, actually, but they're straight and they're white, although female. They're straight and they're white, therefore they have more social power because they're not transgender, and this sort of stuff. So on that basis, we should decide in favour of the person with the least social power, and that's what the court should do in an ideological world. In a world of evidence, the case might have gone differently, but that's not the sort of legal world that we're dealing with today. And whether we look at, it doesn't matter, it's divorce courts, district courts, so on. You really need to get to the higher level of appeal courts and high courts, Supreme Courts and so on, before you start to see a majority of judges that actually operate on the law and evidence. And even that's the globalists are even aggressively trying to change that as well, so that there'll be no courts you can go into anywhere across the Western world that hasn't been penetrated, hasn't been penetrated by these ideological fanatics. But I just want to, the idea of social power comes into other factors, such as giving informed consent. Now, informed consent means that if she has 2 glasses of wine, she can consent to intimate relations. She's had it, I don't know, a bar or a nightclub or something. But if she's had 2.1 glasses of wine, then she can no longer consent. She can give consent, give it freely and happily, but legally it has no standing anymore because she can't give informed consent. And that's because in an interaction between a man and a woman, ideologically, she has the least social power. Therefore, her consent has to be surrounded by ideology rather than by facts. And the same goes for interaction between someone who's gay or not gay, or someone who's trans or not trans. The same ideology, if you like, of protecting one but holding the other to a much higher standard of law or a much higher standard of behaviour is being put into practice. In order to do that, you have to move away from the facts and the evidence and go into ideological territory of social power, which is where things in so many courts now are going to. And when you look at verdicts and you think, how could that have happened? It's the court's verdict, and you think that would be impossible. But when you look at it again through the prism of activists who push this Marxist social power concept, then you can see how these outcomes. So let's have a look at this. This is my understanding, and I haven't done a massively deep drill down on this, so I'll give you my understanding. I won't tell you the jurisdiction because that's not necessarily material in itself. Now, in this particular district or this particular area, it became heavily stacked with activists at all levels who are really pushing the LGBTQ issue. They're like red hot on it. Now that can't be an accident that they all flocked to this one legal district, and so the prosecutors, the legal aides, the the judges, the court officials, everybody is absolutely totally on board with LGBT. They're all active, as far as I can tell. They're all activists, and no one is there to apply the law, as best I can understand it. No, they're there to look for that. They want transphobic or alleged transphobic incidents to occur, so they can strike with aggressive brutality at any of these, damn fascist, Nazi, Hitler straight people. They particularly want to go after white people, or particularly have to go after straight white men, but white women will do. Straight white women will do. That's it's a second prize, but hey, they'll take it. But they're out there to really go after these people. So here's the case now. A man who identifies as trans or trans person, I better say trans person. That's maybe a better thing. So a trans person tries to go in and use the women's bathroom in a bar somewhere. Now, this is, not a bar where any trans people hang out and so on. So you got to wonder whether there's a setup. I suspect it is. They're looking for an incident that they can go and chase after. And I'm guessing that's what was going on here. But anyway, let's just. So the trans person wants to use the women's bathroom. An employee is just clocked off, as I understand it. Who's female, says to the trans person supposedly pushes a woman aside who's waiting in a queue for the bathroom. I think it's a single user bathroom, so I can't imagine it's a very big bar. It must be pretty small if they've only got one bath or one toilet for the patrons. So allegedly the trans person pushes a woman aside in the queue. The bar worker sees this and tells the person that she perceives by their build and their everything that they're a man, says that no, you have to use the men's room. Why are you trying to use the women's room? So the biological male who now identifies as a woman says to the bar worker, well, I'm actually trans. And the bar worker, who doesn't come across as a highly sophisticated person or in possession of vast social skills, and I guess if you worked in a bar all your life, you're probably not a sophisticated individual. But anyway, says, no, I'm not having any of that. The trans person refuses to move, so the bar worker, with open hands, there's no bashings or anything like it. There's no violence. It's a open-handed push, fairly gentle as far as I can tell. Tells the trans person no, that they have to use the trans person allegedly says they started to cry and they were shaking and they were traumatized and they were absolutely devastated by the incident and so on and so forth, which sounds rather over the top. But anyway, I mean, something that small shouldn't cause that much trauma, you'd think. Nonetheless, this person goes home and instantly is able to turn it into a legal case. So now, let's suppose you're a citizen. Say something like that happened. I don't know. I'm queuing, waiting I'm standing in line to go to a bathroom. Maybe it's a busy, pub, bar, restaurant, whatever, and someone pushes in front of me or something. I don't see it as an issue that I take to. If a woman pushes in front or a lesbian pushes in front of me, say, oh, you're a straight white male, you can wait or something. I wouldn't think that was an issue to take to court. But and even if I did, I'd have to find the time and the money to do it myself. Now, you've got to hire a lawyer. A lot of these lawyers now, for a case like that, they'd want a down payment of between $5,000 and $10,000. And then I've got to set aside time to attend court and do this and do that. So I'd look at that and go, wow, that's a big commitment in my time and money. No, not worth it. And I think 99.99% of the population would see it that way. But if you're part of an activist cabal and you let it be known, and your activist buddies in legal aid come round to see you, you know, a deputation, there'll be a bunch of them will come around to you or invite you in or meet you somewhere and say, we'll go and get that arsehole for you. We'll get that fucking transphobe. That fucking transphobe is probably fucking Hitler. And we're going to fucking get him. We'll get him for you. We'll show. Did she make you cry? We'll make her suffer. We'll punish her. We'll pay that damn fucking Hitler transphobe. So they do that. We'll pay for everything. No, you don't need to do anything. But I'll have to, you know, take a couple of days off work or something. Well, we'll pay you for it. So you'll not won't be out of pocket 1 cent, and so on and so forth. So now, if you weren't already so inclined, because you're already a trans activist, for goodness sake, if you weren't already so inclined, excuse me, you probably would let it go. But with all that help, all the bills are going to get paid, and you've been ginned up. Yeah. What did they say to you? Oh, they're a Hitler. And you get ginned up on the activism. So the matter goes to court. Now, you don't know the name of the person. You don't know, you know, like, so there's a certain amount of investigations got to happen. Then you've got to get their address, and then you've got to serve legal papers. Now, this is all being taken care of. But in this particular district, they've got very, very generous budgets. So they've approved and signed off on very generous legal budgets to go after hate crimes, of which trans is really top of their list. Who signed off on all that money? So now they've got all this money and all these activists there, and they're looking for scalps. They're out looking for scalps. Someone looks sideways at you, we'll fucking nail them. And so there's a bunch of activists there, and the view that there's every second person out there is Hitler personally. And so they're openly touting for business and looking for opportunities to go after any straight person they can lay their clammy activist hands on. So to me, that should undermine the integrity of any legal action that's happening. Now, on top of this, the hate crime laws are extremely vague, and you can really, slice it and dice it any way you want. And because it's so vague and the bar is so low that if someone looks sideways at you, you can say it's a hate crime. So anyway, so they they drag this woman to court. Now, wait for this. This is an altercation that lasted 17 seconds. There was no violence. There was no threat of violence. There was no injury. As in the physical injury, like nobody pulled a gun or something. And that trans person was still free to come and use that bar whenever they wanted. There was nothing. That was it. That was the end of it. Now, if they chose not to use that bar, there were a million other bars in the area, so they weren't really handicapped in any way that I can see. Excuse me. And so this woman who said you got to use the men's gets dragged into court for transphobia. It's not clear that she knew that or understood the issue that the person was there claiming they were a woman. They looked like a man, sounded like a man, were built like a man, moved like a man. So they were not unreasonably assumed that they were, that the person, the trans person identifies as trans or identifies as not as a man but as a woman. I don't know if that was a purposeful misgendering. If it was, that was a pretty low level thing that you didn't correctly identify the gender first off or something like that. So the argument is that when the transgender person told them they were transgender, they didn't immediately accept that. And this is a bit vague. It's all bound up in ideology do you own a swastika? Yeah, how many? Yeah, very much. And so the court case, as I understand it, went along those lines with a very, very sympathetic judge. So how is it you get an aggressive legal aid department funding this, an aggressive prosecutor who takes it up and salivates over the thought, and then a judge that is also very sympathetic to the case. And then on top of that, somehow they managed to impound a jury that comes out unanimously with a verdict that yes, it was a hate crime that this woman committed. Now, if you take a random, excuse me, you take a random number of people around, I think you'd struggle to find a jury that would come up with a hate crime incident over this. So how did they impound that jury? Did they go to the LGBTQ activist clubs and say, hey, we're looking for jurors? And the woman, who has no money, by the way, this white woman, she's got no money. I mean, she can't afford a lawyer. She can't afford legal representation. And she's ain't no genius. So she probably can't even follow what's going on. She's bewildered. And it's a full 2-day court case over a 17-second incident without violence or threat of violence. 17-second, 2 fucking full days of court hearings where they go through, tortuously go through the ideology and how the trans person suffered and so on. Now, the trans person says at the end that had the jury not decided in the way they did, that it would have been just another example of rampant transphobia, Hitler and the fascists. So the jury did what was expected, and now then it came to issuing the sentence. So how can you crime here? You told someone to use a different bathroom. You fucking motherfucker! Fuck 100 years in the state penitentiary. You take him down. So this is I don't know if you can you get a lower level crime than this, where a crime where there was kind of no crime. It's a purely ideological crime. You misgendered somebody. We can't even prove you did it purposefully, but that doesn't matter. So it's a non-crime in my view. This is my view, of course. It's a non-crime, but nonetheless, the court then says that the woman has to do. She's on a good behaviour bond. I think it goes for 2 or 3 years, and she's also got to do a certain amount of hours, 100 hours, whatever it was, community service. But wait for this kicker with the humiliation here. The humiliation is that she's got to do this community service. She's got to do it for a gay lesbian activist group, a gay lesbian NGO. So she's got to go, the full humiliation has got to be put on her. The damn straight white fucking Nazi. We'll show her. Now, I know this is sounding terribly North Korean here, but that's the decision of the court. Let's just consider this for a minute. Now, if we look strictly in the law, the law is absolute, just facts and evidence. So did you assault the trans person? So trans person, did you decide to become trans? Okay. You're aware that there was possibilities that you may get misunderstood. You're a tall, solidly built person. You may be misunderstood that you're of another gender. So you understand that you have a high risk in your day-to-day life of people not grasping straight away that you in your head have decided to be another gender. Do you agree that lifestyle comes with certain risks? And if you also are acutely sensitive that somebody may make that error, do you think it's fair or reasonable that you should be able to accuse them of a crime? That would be I think step one. The person has willfully chosen to be to lead that lifestyle, and be ultra sensitive about other people not understanding it or grasping it quickly enough. The next thing would be, did I don't know the other woman's name, the bar worker's name, did Miss Smith injure you in some way? Like, did she strike you? And so the video suggests not. Okay, so there's no assault. Were you told you couldn't go into the bar? No. Okay, you could go. You could come to the bar anytime you wanted, whenever you wanted. So the court's view is that you haven't suffered at all. It's your acute sensitivity that's the issue here, and the lifestyle that you've chosen. There has been no crime against you. Now, could Ms. Smith have been had maybe a little bit better understanding of your psychological situation? Well, sure, okay, but remember, Miss Smith's a bar worker, and you did push aside another patron, so So there's no case to be heard here. Now, in the real world, the legal aid would never fund it. The prosecutors wouldn't touch it, and the judge would either A, throw it out, or if they were prepared to hear it, would throw it out after an hour of less than an hour of evidence. But that's not what happens here. So we need to understand that the activism in the legal practice all across the Western world, by the way, not just Britain or America, Australia, or all across the Western world, is going along these lines, and it's getting worse. And what's more, they've got no trouble producing a stacked jury, no trouble getting activist prosecutors, and legal aid, and funding, and judges. No problem putting all that together, and also the punishments now increasingly. I've noticed it's increasingly no longer just a straight out you did wrong punishment because you haven't really done anything wrong. So the purpose is then humiliation after that. Now that's very much how the communist societies used to do. In China, for example, you had to wear a hats saying that you were an evil counter-revolutionary fascist. Then you had to walk around the street while people, young uni student type age people, senior high school communist fanatics would call out to everybody saying, "See here, look." So public humiliation was a very big. So we see this here, that their intent, the court's intent, which in my mind undermines, in my view at least, undermines any claims of integrity or honesty or whatever the court may assign to themselves. The humiliation of this person. You humiliated our trans ideological friend, our trans friend. Well, we're going to fucking humiliate you, and we're going to use the power of the state to do it. And so they have to do, how many hours, 100 hours, whatever it was, community service for an LGBTQ activist group. I mean, fuck me. You've been with Tassos today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.